And I concluded that if I was going to understand more, I had to experience these other realities, not just as a concept, but or as a dream, but I had to consciously experience them. And just as I was coming to that conclusion, I got contacted by a group who were putting on a week where people were taking ayahuasca in a Brazilian rainforest. It's the only time that I've taken psychoactive drugs ever. So I went there, and I could have taken it 4 times. I took it twice, and that was enough for me because of what I got. And I had an extraordinary experience where for 5 hours on the second occasion, a voice as loud as mine is now, took a female form, was talking to me about the illusory nature of human reality. And it was hilarious. It was very, very funny. I mean, they've got a sense of humor out there, I'll tell you. And what happened is I was kind of transported. My mind went to this void. But it wasn't a void. You know, when you're talking about infinity and the infinity of possibility, then all things must be possible. So we tend to think in human terms as either or. It either is or it isn't. It's everything or it's nothing. But within the realm of infinite possibility, all possibility is possible. And so within that void, you kind of experienced everything and nothing. It was and it wasn't. It was all possibility just waiting to manifest. And I was fascinated many years later, because what it took the form, it was black, but it was brilliant. It's very difficult to describe, because many people watching this show will have experienced it, I'm sure. It was like a brilliant blackness, but it was everything. And this voice said to me, this is where you've come from and to where you will return. And a few years later, a lot of publicity surrounded the book of Ibn Alexander. And I read his book about his near-death experience. And he said that he basically experienced this void. And I read the words. He called it the dazzling darkness. And I thought, my goodness me, that is exactly what I experienced in 2003. And the voice went on to explain that the world that we think of physicality and external reality is actually an illusion. And that we are the consciousness having the experience. But what's happened, of course, and this is all part of the manipulation of the simulation, is to trick us into believing that what we're experiencing is who we are. And after that, so you identify with fake identity. Oh, I'm the body, I'm a human. No, that's an experience. The labels of a human life are experiences. They're not an I in the eternal sense. And so when I was through with that and I'd experienced that, and I got so much knowledge from that experience of 5 hours, and also I had instant recall of it as well. I didn't write it down or anything, but I could remember it all. But from that moment, what I've experienced, Jeff, since the top of my head blew off in 1990. That's another story on a mound in Peru. Is that you know, I am a state of awareness, and I'm experiencing this reality, but I'm not actually this reality. And it's taking a step back into consciousness where you're in this world, but you're not of it. It's where you become the observer far more than the participant. It doesn't mean you don't interact with the world, you do, but you do it from a different perspective. It's like, you know, when you have a dream and you think it's real, then you're emotionally affected by it. You can wake up in a sweat in the middle of the night and think, oh my God, I've had a nightmare. But there's another kind of dream, lucid dreams they call them, where you know it's a dream and you observe the dream. And because you're observing the dream, knowing it's a dream, you're not impacted emotionally and mentally and what have you by the dream as you would normally be. And, you know, this simulation is basically an induced dream. Years ago, when I was a journalist, a mainstream journalist, I would wake up in the morning and I'd put the radio on to see what the latest news was. And I'd often fall asleep, which for what seemed like ages, but only was a few minutes. And often I would have a dream, a really vivid dream. And when I woke up, the dream I was having related to the story being broadcast on the radio. So that was an induced dream by the information coming on the radio. And what this simulation is inducing a dream by delivering this sense of reality through the biological computer. That gets us to believe that we're experiencing a reality that's nothing like what we're actually experiencing. And so the way I've dealt with it particularly since that ayahuasca experience, is not to, you know, go into these projections out. If they happen naturally, fantastic. But to take this step back and observe the dream, knowing it's a dream. And it's a completely different way of living your life, completely different way of interacting with the world. And once you take this step back into the self-identity that we are a state of awareness, and this is just a dream that we're experiencing, you start to see how the dots connect